Feels outdated, right? A little creepy even. Because these models have exponentially grown in quality. This is an example of a comparison between DALL-E 2 and Sora 1. And I think everyone has now seen Sora 2 already. OpenAI has even announced that they're going to make a Hollywood animation movie, fully AI generated. It is going to premiere next year at the Cannes Film Festival, and it's going to be in cinemas. It's crazy, right? So we need to ask ourselves the question, what's the core innovation, the core component that defines the AI revolution we are in right now? And that basically is the new form of AI models. For example, a large language model. A large language model is none other than a mathematical function in order to predict the next word based upon certain input text. And it can do so well because it is trained on massive amounts of data and uses a lot of different parameters to fine-tune the prediction of each word. To elaborate a little bit more on that, the official numbers for GPT-3, if you are an adult person and you read 24/7, it will take you around 3,000 years to read all the text that's used to train a model. And estimations for GPT-4 are that it already would take 80,000 years to read all the text. And these models are getting better and better. Why? Because a lot of big AI companies are investing massively in chips, data centers, making sure models are being trained with more complex data sets, even more parameters, over 1 trillion different parameters even. So these models surpass human reasoning and human intelligence. And I present these slides at different companies, and I always ask the same question when, for example, I'm in a boardroom. And the question is, how are you preparing your company for agentic AI? How are you making sure that you can build AI agents that can use these digital brains we are creating? And the answer is, well, almost the same every time. Well, Karsten, don't worry, we got you covered, because we just bought Copilot. Then I ask some more questions about their infrastructure, about the data. Well, it turns out they have a messy infrastructure, they have a lot of unstructured data, and all their employees are not willing to use AI because they find it very threatening and scary. It's really hard to build AI agents. There is a massive gap between what we see, the tip of the iceberg, all the agents that are demoed at this event right now, and the reality of a lot of companies. And we are building AI agents at these companies. For example, an AI agent which autonomously answers all custom inquiries for Payter using Camunda. So if you would like to have a demo, come to our booth. I can't explain all the lessons we learned at these companies, but there is one thing that stands out. It's really hard. It takes a lot of effort to build AI agents. You need to think about which use case am I going to use. You need to think about new stuff like observability, guardrails, context engineering, and determining the right agentic architecture. And this is knowledge you could only grasp the last 3 years. So it's new for every company, even digital-first companies. So the gap is maybe the knowledge gap. It starts over there. At Incentro, we find a sort of fun solution to bridge, to decrease that knowledge gap. And we call it rubber ducking. Has anyone heard of the term rubber ducking? Please raise your hand. Okay, there were some. So let me explain a little. Rubber ducking is a debugging technique in software engineering. So basically what it does, when a programmer needs to explain their code in natural language because it's too complex to understand. So that's pretty cool, right? So at our office, we have rubber ducks everywhere. And when you're talking to the colleague and you don't know what they are saying, that maybe creates misunderstandings or maybe mistakes, then you just squeeze the duck or you throw the duck at the colleague, and then he knows, okay, I need to explain this in natural, more human language. And the cool thing is, This will sort of be my Oprah Winfrey moment, because there is a rubber duck lying around under everyone's chair. So I would like you to grab that rubber duck, because we're going to put this to the test first. Okay, very nice, very nice. You found the ducks. So let's put this to the test. I'm going to show you a term. If you already know the definition of this AI term, don't squeeze. And if you want me to explain it in more natural language, please squeeze the rubber duck. And it's embedded human intelligence. Okay, cool. I will explain it in more natural language. And to do so, because this is one of the hard lessons we learned in these companies, I'm going to start explaining the lessons we learned at the company DAF. It's, I believe, the last regional engine manufacturer in the Netherlands, and it produces trucks, the chassis and the cabin. And it's a really difficult product. There are a lot of suppliers, different configurations, customizations for each use case. So it makes it really difficult to come first time right all the time. For example, if a hole is drilled 1 inch off, then the truck sends back to the factory because it needs to be adjusted. So this costs a lot of time, unnecessary time and money for DAF. So the thing is, when you are adopting AI, you need to start thinking about business value. So everyone who is building an AI first company, throw it away with bullshit, make sure you start business first. And use AI to exponentially grow that business. So find real business value to adopt AI agents. For DAF, it was being first time right. When you're looking at first time right, you can already find some different use cases, like making sure we can advise trucks better. We enable bodybuilders, which are companies that make accessories for certain trucks. Make sure that every truck that leaves the factory is compliant for each customer, each market, based on certain regulations. So the next question we asked ourselves, where do AI agents fit in? Which AI agents can we help DAF to become first time right? And the cool thing is, this is a horizontal question. So it's not a departmental question. You need to think throughout your entire organization, where can I find agents use cases to make sure we are first time right? So you need to find AI champions in different departments, put them together in a center of excellence, and to make sure together you can discover certain use cases. And the cool thing is, you can find many use cases that can help. Doing predictive maintenance, making sure we build an agent for configuration, maybe an agent that can help with analyzing sales strategies based upon customer needs. It all helps to becoming first time right. So the next question we need to ask ourselves, where do we start? We need to find out the feasibility of each agent. We've learned that we need to ask two questions. And the first one is, which AI agent type is needed? And that's determined based on the agent complexity it needs to handle, and also the amount of business critical influence it has. So for example, when you're building an agent that isn't really business critical and it just needs answers, for example, custom increase of service tickets, that's more straightforward. Well, don't build it, buy it of a software company. They are building it for you. But the more complex it gets, and you really want to make sure it's 100% right, you need a lot of customization options. So you want to build a custom agent. And the next question we need to ask is, what's the level of orchestration we need? Are we building a personal assistant? Or are we building a sales support agent for the sales department? Or are we going to do compliance checking throughout the entire organization? Why does it matter? You need to think about embedding these agents into processes. You need to think about making sure you can orchestrate an agent throughout an entire organization. So knowing the level of organizational depth is really important. And the cool thing is, you can cross-reference them. This creates a 9 grid. This 9 grid really helps Incentro and also a lot of our customers to determine which use cases do we need, and also to find different adoption strategies and different technologies. So you can lay over all the use cases we have, for love, for example, and we're already seeing to form some patterns. So maybe we need a personal assistant we just need to buy, or maybe we need an organizational agent that we need to build custom. And the cool thing is, you can also use different technologies to lay over this grid. For example, when you're building a personal assistant, you can do this, for example, with Copilot. And the cool thing is, when you are using Copilot, implementing Copilot, the adoption strategy will probably be more around AI training, making sure that people know what they're doing, know what they're prompting. And when you're building a custom agent, we often use LangChain as an agentic framework to build it. It's really cool. So let's dive a little bit deeper into one use case. And it's called Richard GPT. And let me introduce you to Richard. This is Richard. And this is cool about AI agent, because it's often not about the technology. It's really overrated. Because Richard is one of the few most senior product experts at Dove. So he has all the information stored in his brain, in his mind. So that's why I'm explaining embedding human intelligence. Because if you can make sure that an agent has the context of Richard, because he makes less faults, those structures are configured very well, then you can bring that knowledge to the junior media salespeople, product people, and they also make less faults. And Richard is about to retire, so that's a big problem. So we can look at all the shiny tech in the company, all the beautiful infrastructure, but mainly comes down to three things. Because Richard is about to retire and he uses his favorite Excel software. So we don't want to make sure that the knowledge gets lost. So we need to ask ourselves, well, if we look at Richard, because he advises a lot of trucks very well, where can we find the context we need for an AI agent? And spoiler alert, it's not in your Azure Blob Storage or in your database lying everywhere. Because Richard uses documents, order data, maybe he uses notes, and he even uses his own memory. And the cool thing is, you can use this map to grab the context, to grab that human intelligence, transform it into readable data into a knowledge base so an agent can use it. So for example, you can determine different scenarios, make sure you interview Richard, you capture his answers, and not only Richard, but all senior product experts. You validate what he's saying, because people hallucinate often, with data within the company, and then you can embed that data in a vector database, so a knowledge base, and an agent can use it. Pretty cool, right? So this is why we've learned that embedding human intelligence is very important to reach a high level of correctness of an AI agent. It's about the context. Context is key. We put it in the conversational advice with the junior and media people who ask a lot of questions towards at the Richard's brain. And also, this UI function can house several different agents. Some agent that can check configuration, that can do sales analysis, but it starts at the Dove sales product agent. And we've learned a lot at the company. We've learned about retrieving human intelligence. We've learned about creating a microservices pattern for agents to make sure that it's scalable for the future. We've learned how do we build a software infrastructure so data never leaves the company. Which technologies are we going to use? We tried Azure AI, LangChain, we use VVA for vector databasing, all fancy tooling. What is really important, you understand what you need. And also based on training, fine-tuning, and making sure that you can embed agents in the company process, using tooling like Kamuna for business process management, for example. I'm not going to say a lot about these different lessons, but I want you to remember three things. The first one is, AI agents really are magic. It's more than Copilot, it's also more than all the technology you've seen right here. It's 50% engineering and 50% people, making sure you can grab that context out of someone's mind. Always start with business value. So don't build AI first companies, build business first companies and use AI to grow. Start finding different use cases and adopt them. And the cool thing is, make sure you cut through the hype. And to do so, squeeze that duck. When you hear a definition you don't really understand, and learn more about AI. Please learn more about AI. And what can help is we organize an agentic AI event, Incentro Agentic 26 next year. Scan the QR code, and there's also a flyer on each of everyone's chair, so you can learn more about how AI agents are evolving within certain companies. I hope I have inspired at least someone in this audience today to make sure they approach AI agent adoption a little differently. Thank you.